Inflation, 2 more kids, and moving to a different state, our budget has changed a lot over the last 4 years. Today I'm going to show you a side-by-side comparison looking at August 2021's budget versus August 2025. And if you're new here, hey, I'm Marissa and I share about family finance and ways you can budget, save, and make more money for your family so that you can work on your goals and also do what you love. I share my personal household budget here on YouTube and I've been sharing it now for many years. And so way back in the day, I shared my August 2021 budget and I haven't shared my August 2025 budget, so we're gonna kind of look at that today and compare this to our budget 4 years ago because it's kind of wild to go back and see how our money was being spent at that time. To give you more context to our budget back then, we were a family of 3. We had a 15-month-old son. We had a house, we had a mortgage, and we were living in Portland, Oregon at the time. Now we have 3 children who are 5, 3, and 12 months, and we are living in Phoenix, Arizona. In 2021 and now, both my husband and I do work and provide financially to our household. But I've also been home with my kids and that's my priority. And then I work on the side when my kids are asleep so that I can make some money from home and not have to pay for childcare. All right, so shall we take a look at it? Let's dive in. So to show you this comparison, I took my standard budget template, which if you've watched my videos, then you've seen. I just changed some formatting for it to make it a little bit different. But if you are looking to get started with budgeting, I do have my budget template, which looks kind of like this, except it has more to it. And I will link that down below and you can get that as an instant download. You just buy it once and you can use it for forever. So I will leave that down below if you're wanting to get started with budgeting. So we have our income, we have Jacob's income and my business income. I have all that still blocked off individually, but our total take-home pay. In 2021, we brought home $7,190. And this month we are planning to bring home $9,458. So at the time, my husband was actually making just about the same salary. I have been making more for my business, which is great. But I also know that in 2021, we were paying more in taxes because we lived in Oregon, which has a much higher state income tax versus Arizona, where we are now. And then we also only had 1 child, just had, that 1 dependent versus we now have 3. So we were paying more in taxes in 2021. I also believe that we were putting more into my husband's 401k as to what we are now. And so this pay that you see here, our total income, this is take-home pay after taxes, insurance, 401k, all of those kinds of things. My husband did have a different job in 2021, he was working for a different company, but I think that we just had a lot more deductions, and also I have been making more money for my business right now, which is great. Next we have is expense section. I do have our giving stuff blocked off for privacy, but our mortgage, let's take a look, shall we? Okay. We bought our house in September of 2019, our first home in Oregon. This included principal, interest, taxes, and insurance with $2,200.50. We also had a 3.2% interest rate. Yeah, okay. Our mortgage now, we pay $2,839.55 on our house here in Arizona simply because we have a 6.6% interest rate, which is a bummer. This includes our property taxes, insurance. You'll see later I didn't include insurance here, but I think our insurance is like less than $100 a month. It's not crazy. But this is one of the downsides to moving when we have high interest rates is that, yes, we are paying more for our mortgage because our interest rate is twice as much. But that being said, we also are saving a lot of money in taxes by being here and paying significantly less in state income tax compared to Oregon. So I've done the math before and it almost just about washes out between the tax savings here versus the interest rate that we're paying. And hopefully someday we will be able to refinance, and for now we still are able to pay that, so that is what that is. But also I know that our mortgage, if we were still in Oregon, we'd be paying more than this now because taxes have gone up and we'd be paying more in taxes. Next we have is our HOA. We had an HOA paying $121.46 each month in Oregon, and now we pay $138. Our Oregon HOA, they took care of our front lawn, which was actually super duper small, but they did that, and that was it. Here we have pool access and parks and all of those amenities, so they're very similar in price, but we actually get to utilize things here. So we also have gym access, gym, pool, all that kind of stuff. Next we have is water, sewer. So it was 101 in Oregon and 95 here. So it's funny to me that it's cheaper to have water in Arizona than it is in Oregon, where it rained all the time and we always had so much water, versus here it's cheaper and even 4 years later. Still cheaper. Next we have is natural gas. In Oregon we paid $40. Here it's $25, and it's very minimal here right now in the summer because we are not using any heat. Then we have trash. $58.72 is what we paid in Oregon versus $22 a month here. And then electric, we paid $70 in Oregon 4 years ago and $187.52 here. So we are on budget billing right now with APS in Arizona, and so we have a consistent monthly payment because obviously it's very, very hot in the summer, and so our bill is evened out from winter to summer. They just take like the average and we pay that each month, which is nice for our budget's sake. Next is internet. We paid $45 for internet in Oregon 4 years ago, and now it is $60. Then we have our phones. We paid $110 for phones then, and we're now paying $150. And honestly, a big reason, I feel like this should be like phone and streaming services, because that's actually what's included in here. And we do pay more for streaming service types things here. So we have like, our Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, all of that kind of stuff also put into here. Then we have insurance. $109.64 is what we had in 2021. And I'm trying to think back as to why that was so cheap. At that time, we had 2 cars that were older. We had like a 2013 RAV4 and a 2013 Corolla, I think, at the time. And so now we pay $272 a month for insurance. And again, part of this is our house insurance, homeowners insurance is all put into the same payment with our insurance provider. So it's probably like, I think it's like $180 about of what we pay in insurance for our cars specifically, but we have a 2024 Kia Carnival now and a 2018 Highlander. Next we have is life insurance, which stays the same, $52.89 for insurance. Okay, groceries. This is where I was shocked when I looked back at 2021 to see that we were only spending $350 a month on groceries for the 3 of us, 2 adults and 1 small toddler. Now it is $750. And honestly, my kids do not eat a lot of food. They really don't. But we do have, 2 more kids who are eating, and just the overall cost of groceries. And even $750, I should probably make it $800, honestly. So yeah, our grocery costs have about doubled in the last 4 years because of this. And let me know in the comments below if yours have done the same, because I wouldn't be shocked if they are. Eating out, we are still trying to keep it $150 each month. I will say that one difference I've noticed from Oregon to Phoenix is that eating out seems to be cheaper here. That being said, we just don't do it very often, and we try not to do it very often. So $150, this is like once a week we basically get takeout, and that is our eating out. We don't get like appetizers or drinks or any extra kinds of things. We try and keep it really simple. If we do go to a sit-down restaurant, we specifically go someplace where kids eat free, because my kids, again, barely eat, and I feel like it's such a waste to go to a restaurant and pay for, the whole service and the tip and all of this stuff to have your kids eat like 2 nibbles of food. So at least if I go somewhere where kids eat free, I like that my kids get that exposure and they're learning how to behave in public and do these kinds of things, but it's a more affordable option. So that's how we typically do eating out. We try and maybe do a sit-down restaurant like once a month, and then otherwise we just get takeout for my husband and my kids will just eat chicken nuggets, which they'd prefer to do. Anyway. Next we have is gas. We budgeted $100 in Oregon 4 years ago, and now we budget $150. Honestly, we typically are right around $100 anyway right now. But I was kind of shocked to have it this low. Both my husband and I work from home, so we don't have that commuting cost. Then we have fun, $50 each month, which I know doesn't get you far right now, but we found a lot of more affordable things that we can do for fun with our family. We like to try and find free things and local things to do. We try to hit up the library more. We'll go to like, Saturday donuts as a family, like once a month or something like that. So things that are more affordable, and we aren't doing a lot of these, big things like going to the trampoline park, doing all of this. I know that as the kids get older, they'll probably want to do more of that, and that's great. But for right now, with having young kids, I'm going to enjoy the fact that fun does not need to be expensive. They love going to the library. Next we have is miscellaneous at $150 still, because you always need a random miscellaneous category. And then college. We funded college for our 1 son 4 years ago, and now we contribute to that for our 3 sons now. So overall, we have $1,253 more of expenses of what we're spending now versus then. Okay, now let's look into savings. Jacob used to get $250 and I used to get $100. Jacob now gets $200 and I get $75. So we've reduced this. I think it was over a year ago. I think it was almost 2 years ago, where we just felt like things were getting really tight in our budget, and we were like working on moving here. Anyway, so we were like, you know what, we need to like bring this back a little bit, and also just with stagnant wages and increased costs in life, we were like, we just can't really afford this extra stuff right now, so we brought that back just a little bit. Extra giving we do have in here at $50 each month still, which allows us to say yes to additional giving opportunities when they come up. Gifts also at $50. We don't really go to weddings anymore. All of our friends are married, but baby showers and things like that. Then we have clothing at $50 a month, which is not a lot for Jacob and I, but we don't need a lot of stuff, and I love shopping at Old Navy and getting $4 shirts. Next we have is vacation, which sadly I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize we were putting more to vacation than we are now. Then we were putting $400, now we're putting $200. But just in the stage of having little kids, honestly, going on vacation is not a vacation, and it's not as enjoyable to be quite honest. And I'm looking forward to doing more things with our kids probably in a couple years, but right now it's just a little chaotic. We do like to go to Disneyland, and I do love that we are now close enough to Disneyland that we can drive, and so we went earlier this year. We are planning actually to go again later this year, but it'll be like a cheaper quick trip, so we don't have big things that we're planning to do for vacation right now. Then we have Christmas. I used to put $100 a month to it, but now I'm not putting anything because I use our credit card rewards to fund Christmas each year, so I'm actually not putting anything into it because it should be covered by when December rolls around. Next we have is medical. We used to just put $25 a month into a medical fund. I think that at this time, no, I think we were on a high deductible health plan. I'm not sure why we were only putting $25 into our medical fund, but I mean, when we only had one child, it was a lot cheaper medical wise. But now we are on a high deductible health plan, and we are funding our HSA, which I knew that we were doing in 2021 as well. But we are putting $400 a month into our medical fund that we can use to pay for medical expenses. That way we don't touch the HSA, and we instead invest those dollars and would rather use that for more long term. So $400 a month that we put into our medical fund, which we just about have been spending between 5 people on a medical plan. And I take our overall family max out of pocket divided by 12 and save that amount each month, and that's how I get to this $400 amount. Next we have a subscriptions. We used to just have $31 of subscriptions, and now we have $100 that we set aside for like monthly subscriptions for things like our Costco membership or other like annual membership renewal things that come up. Then we have car maintenance. We still have at $75, and then house maintenance we also still have at $400. And then household, we used to put $100 and we now do $150, which makes sense. This is for things like toilet paper, paper towels, detergent, like all of those household supplies. And then kids, this is a big one. It used to be $150 when we just had one child, and it's now $600 that we set aside for all of our kids. When we just had Peter, this was just like diapers and clothing, because he was just 14, 15 months old. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff. He wasn't enrolled in anything. But now, like, my oldest 2 sons are doing swim lessons each month, which is not cheap, but we find it to be so necessary and valuable as a life-saving skill. So we are happy to spend that money on that right now. We also have our older 2 doing a couple little sports activities and things like that, and preschool. And then diapers, clothing, all of these things for 3 little boys. So $600 a month is what we set aside for our kids each month, which is a lot. Next we have is goals. So we used to have another $642.42 that we were putting into a brokerage investment account because we had at that time we had a fully funded emergency fund. We had also already maxed out 2 Roth IRAs that year. And like I had mentioned, we were putting more into Jacob's 401k. Now we have $1,088 that we have left over that we can put towards goals, and we're working on increasing our emergency fund a bit more. But specifically right now this month, I'm actually putting more of this to house maintenance because we redid our front yard. So this was something that was not necessary at all, but it was a strong want for us to get done. So we did do our front yard. It looks great. And so I'm just going to use that money and set that aside into our house maintenance to cover that expense. So between these 4 years, we've had inflation, we've had 2 additional children, we've moved, but we are taking home more money specifically because we pay less in taxes now and we aren't putting as much to my husband's 401k, which I'd love to be able to increase at some point. But what this comparison has shown me is that our mortgage has been a big increase for us and groceries has been huge, as well as just the kid aspect. So between moving, having a higher interest rate with the way that rates are right now, inflation with groceries and household supplies and kids, all of that has been the biggest increases for us. And we've also just really tried to stick to lower spending in these other categories so that we can cover these additional costs in life. Let me know if you want to see more money comparisons. I still have our budgets from when we were first married, from before we had kids, and maybe that would be interesting for you to see as well. Do you ever go back and look at your old budgets to see what you used to be spending? And no, maybe it could be kind of sad, but I find it fascinating to see the differences of how we live life then versus now. Don't forget to check out my budget template, which is kind of similar to this. I will leave that down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more real life family budgeting. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.